While the series has had its fair share of highs, this episode appears to have missed the mark with some fans. After all, we are getting 20 episodes in total, so pacing is becoming a bit of a concern, and episode 7 has sparked more questions about whether certain storylines are necessary or perhaps could have been condensed. That said, there are still some more developments worth discussing today. So, is episode 7 an essential part of Daima's journey, or is it just filler in disguise? Let's jump into it. This episode opens with two storylines running parallel, one on Earth with Vegeta, Piccolo, Bulma and Kibito, and the other one in the Demon Realm with Goku, Shin, Glorio and Pansy. On Earth, Bulma discovers that the ship she repaired has malfunctioned because it requires a rare mineral only found in the Demon Realm. Vegeta, ever the protective husband, steps in front of Bulma when Hybus's spaceship finally lands here. This moment is, somewhat touching for Vegeta and also kind of humorous, showcasing that soft side to Vegeta. Hybus, however, proves to be that ally that we knew about and that he was sent by King Kaden to bring them to the Dragon Realm. So, the group departs, leaving Kibito behind to guard the Earth's lookout. This marks a bit of a turning point as finally the secondary team begins their journey to reunite with Goku and the others. Now in the Demon Realm, Goku's group faces an entirely different challenge. Pansy explains about the collar that she wears, revealing it's a suppressive and tracking device used by Goma's forces. It's a cruel tool meant to keep her and others in submission, and it grows with them from a child to an adult. Things escalate then when a Gendamiri ship approaches their stolen craft, forcing the group to deal with the Demon Realm's military police yet again. At first, this situation seems like standard fare for the series, another interruption, another skirmish, something that we've seen a few times already. But this time, it is Shin and Glorio that take center stage. Shin's use of magic to smash two ships together is really showing that he does have some fight to him after all. He's not as useless as sometimes he has been made out to look, and it really offers a glimpse of his true potential. Meanwhile, Glorio's combat skills are on full display like we've seen before, further showcasing his role as that invaluable ally or that potential secret antagonist. Goku's involvement is very minimal during this confrontation, and for good reason. The group realizes that a full-blown fight involving Goku could escalate matters too far and turn them into fugitives, making their mission nearly impossible, as if they are, they wouldn't be able to travel between worlds or even get home later. Instead, the group handles the Gendamiri on their own, with Pansy cleverly disabling their communications. However, their ship sustains a bit of heavy damage during the battle, forcing them once again to find a new ship and steal one of the Gendamiri ships to continue their journey. I don't really know how many times something can happen to their ship to delay them for them to then find another one. In a touching moment though, Shin does use his magic to remove Pansy's collar, freeing her from its control and symbolizing hope for others suffering under Goma's rule. It is revealed that the collar is made of Kachin metal, and this in fact is the same material that broke the Z-Sword in Dragon Ball Z, the one that is supposed to be the toughest that exists, further tying Daima's lore to the franchise's larger narrative. The group then finally arrives at the location for Tamagami 3, but instead of, finally jumping into battle, Goku insists he needs to eat and rest first, adding yet another layer of humor, but also another layer of frustration. Meanwhile, at the same time, Vegeta, Piccolo and Bulma are seen marveling at the Demon Realm's strange and dangerous beauty as they move closer to their reunion with Goku. The episode then ends with Goku standing before Tamagami at last, whose imposing presence and giant hammer promise an intense battle in the next episode. After all, they say even Deborah couldn't bring down any of the Tamagami. Although, with the power of Goku, I'm not sure that really is much of a scale. So, episode 7 raises a critical question. Was it really essential to the story, or could it have been condensed to allow for more action and progression? It could well be said that episode 7 doesn't really move the plot forward enough, especially given that 20 episode runtime that Daima is going to get. With 7 episodes in, that's just over a third of the way through, and it kind of feels a bit repetitive. The Gendamiri encounter feels repetitive, with the same group of faceless villains acting as minor obstacles for the third time. Additionally, much of this episode is spent on mundane tasks like repairing or replacing ships again, which could have just been streamlined. Even Goku's insistence on eating before the battle with the Tamagami, it feels like yet another unnecessary delay. Given these elements, the pacing of episode 7 is just a bit frustrating. Now, I am by no means saying it is bad, but when you put this episode in with the last couple as well, it feels like we just haven't really gone anywhere with a fair bit of screen time. However, episode 7 also introduces some key developments that could prove vital later on. It could just all be about the setup. Shin's newfound assertiveness not only highlights his growth as a character, but also reinforces that he can be important to the team. His ability to remove the collar without harming Pansy is a powerful moment that really shows his role as someone who could be a symbol of hope in the demon realm. The lore surrounding the catch-in metal and its connection to the Dragon Realm does help some series world building as well, tying Daima to those incidents in Dragon Ball Z. Similarly, the introduction of the Hybus as a bridge between the Earth-based and Demon Realm teams adds something to King Kaiden's role and expands that narrative scope. The episode also sets the stage for the Tamagami fight, which does promise to be a major turning point for the series. We're finally getting that big, threatening battle, someone who might be able to challenge Goku, not people who Goku could probably beat with his eyes closed, no hands, and probably still asleep. So while the pacing may have been slow, the build up to the battle creates that anticipation that perhaps will make it feel all the more bigger, and it gives the Tamagami more of a sense of gravitas. Ultimately, Episode 7 highlights the balance Daima is trying to strike between adventure and action. While the slower pacing may not work for everyone, it does reflect the show's attempt to recapture the spirit of OG Dragon Ball, where the journey was just as important as the destination. That said, with only 13 episodes remaining, the series can't afford too many episodes like this, if really any more at all. Episode 8 really needs to deliver on the promises that have been made so far, with high stakes action and meaningful character interactions. If it does, episode's slower pacing will feel more like a brief pause, the calm before the storm, the pulling back, building tension, ready to let go as we get that moment of excellence. Hopefully it is this way and not an unnecessary detour. And so, where does this leave us? Episode 7 of Daima is undoubtedly a mixed bag. On one hand, it provides solid character moments for Shin and a few tidbits of intriguing lore. On the other hand, it stretches its narrative thin with drawn out gags and side quests that can feel somewhat redundant this far into a limited series. As we approach the halfway mark, the stakes are finally starting to rise with the introduction of Tamagami 3. However, it could be said this episode may feel again more like a detour than a vital step forward. So this is where I want to hear from all of you. Was episode 7 a miss, or are these slower moments exactly what Daima needs to recapture its Dragon Ball roots? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. And with that, I'd like to just say thank you for spending some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on History of Dragon Ball.